Ladies and gentlemen, drivers, gig workers, and everyone in between, welcome to This Week in Rideshare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Hoffa. It is Friday, January 17th, and this week, Tesla's data gives doubts, Uber fights insurance, and PA makes rides safer. Legal Rideshare breaks it down. And from Legal Rideshare, I'm joined by the co-founder and lead attorney, Bryant Green. Bryant, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Jared. Great to be back for another one.
Yep, we are back. No Torsten this time, but what a great show. Last time we had him on. Love to have him on again. Of course, he's just a rock star, and just it's full of so much valuable information. Truly.
I know he's like a vault of information in the rideshare world. It was a real pleasure to have him on. And like you said, we need to pressure him to come back.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right, so let's get into this week's stories. We're going to start with Tesla. Now, this is Elon is praising new data for his self-driving, but it may be misrepresented. This is from Electric, and they reported, quote, Elon Musk is praising data that he claims shows Tesla is on the verge of achieving unsupervised full self-driving, when in fact it shows it's still years away and he is misrepresenting it. Tesla has consistently refused to share any data regarding its self-driving progress. That's besides more recently starting to use what they call miles between necessary disengagement, sometimes called miles between critical disengagement, as a metric to track progress, and claiming X multipliers in miles between critical disengagement in recent updates without any actual data to back it up. Now, there are no prior versions of Tesla's full FSD, full self-driving over the last 3 years that would add up to what he's calling, a 5x improvement. It's only about a 3x improvement in miles between critical disengagement. Now, there's a lot of tech jargon here, and Brian, we can talk more about this, but what I'm understanding here is the miles between critical disengagement is indicating the miles to which these Teslas can drive full self-driving on their own comfortably. Now, he's basically saying in this article, which I'm understanding, he's saying, hey, we're doing 5 times, 10 times the number we used to do a year ago to try to do what other like Waymos are doing now. But the data that they're saying that they are able to get is saying it's not even close. Am I understanding that right? Is that how that's being laid out?
That's how I'm reading it. And I think the bigger picture here from a broader perspective is just that we're not getting much transparency from these companies, particularly Tesla, in how the vehicles are working, how much of the self-driving they're able to do on their own. And ultimately, that goes to safety. Whether or not Elon's numbers add up, like I'll leave that to the tech analysts, but I think it's important to highlight that we need transparency in the data in this new industry. We need the experts to be able to look at the information, conclude if the machines are working as they're supposed to, conclude whether or not they're as safe as the companies are telling us that they are. Whenever we bring a new technology onto the market, and particularly a technology that's putting vehicles on the roadway in, thousands of pounds of metal that could be crashing into people, to bicyclists, to other vehicles on the road, we need to make sure that that technology is safe. And we can't just be relying on what a private company is telling us. So before these cars really become the mainstream, before autonomous vehicles are the way that we travel around our communities, we need some regulation. We need some oversight to make sure that the data that we're being told actually exists, and that it represents what the companies are saying it represents.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason I think this article is so important. I mean, minus the data set and the obviously lack of transparency, because as the article states, they actually don't give out the data. They just manage to crowdsource enough data to get this info out. But what's concerning is if Elon especially is able to convince regulators, hey, it is at this level, it is equal to where Waymo's at now, and it turns out it's actually not. We know where that's going to lead. It's going to lead to a lot of accidents, a lot of serious accidents, because the systems just aren't there. Even though he's showing the data that regulators who aren't going to be digging into this go, okay, well, it looks to be hitting the threshold, so sure. I think that's the
Right.
scary part on this article.
But there's different types of risks that we can take as a community. If it comes down to, I'll just use the environmental stuff with Uber. Uber says we're making we're creating advances here in terms of global warming because we're taking vehicles off the road. And then there's other entities that say, actually, you're pumping out more carbon than than transportation vehicles had in the past. That is a big picture that, obviously we need to be concerned about carbon emissions but it's not an imminent threat today. Somebody's going to get plowed with a car like a misrepresentation of autonomous vehicles are. We can have these theoretical arguments about benefits and detriments in certain adaptations and adoptions of technology. But when there's an imminent threat of my vehicle could run into you and kill you today, we need to make sure that the data is accurately represented. If there's misrepresentations in autonomous vehicles, my mind goes to Theranos. My mind goes to, somebody saying that something's going to work in the technology sphere, and then it doesn't work, and then people die as a result. So we just need to make sure that before we have some catastrophe, that this new technology is properly vetted, that the new technology is properly regulated, and therefore the community is made safe and there's not an imminent threat of harm.
Yeah, very well said. And, again, the counter argument here that they can say is, look, this isn't Tesla's official data. This is data that they got. But like you said, lack of transparency, where this can end up. We need regulations and we need safety. So, again, we're really only seeing Waymo make the big leap right now, but it's only a matter of time till Tesla tries to join in. And I'm sure we'll have more articles about it. So, moving on to the second story, an Uber led coalition is running campaigns to lower insurance costs. This is from New York Post. And they reported, quote, Citizens for Affordable Rates is particularly supporting city legislation that would reduce the minimum liability coverage that taxis and rideshare drivers are required to carry from a whopping $200,000 down to $50,000. The measure is sponsored by Councilwoman Carmen De La Rosa, whose northern Manhattan district includes Washington Heights and Inwood, and has a large area for hire drivers. Basically, Uber is bankrolling the group's first ads on TV and cable, digital and social, plus all the major streaming services to get this out. This is sort of a follow-up story, Brian, to what we had covered, I believe, last week or the week before about the insurance premiums. I haven't seen this playbook from Uber in a while. Usually they're just kind of pushing let's change the laws, but this time they're going back to funding coalitions and pumping, astroturfing, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, this is more of the same from Uber's playbook. We've seen this in the past. As you said, they've been quiet in this realm for a while, but actually forming these coalitions and having the representatives push legislation forward, they're being really aggressive about this, and they're trying to save themselves a lot of money. Lowering the amount of insurance that's available to drivers and riders and victims in rideshare related accidents is a horrible idea. $50,000 is not enough for most injuries, let alone serious injuries. If an Uber vehicle is involved in a crash that kills someone or seriously injures someone, that $50,000 is going to go very fast. This has been one of Uber's tactics for a long time in order to save themselves major money in insurance payments. We've seen when LegalRideshare started, every Uber vehicle had $1 million of coverage on it, no matter what. No matter what happened, there was $1 million sitting there, which was enough money to protect people in most circumstances. That number has continually decreased based on period of operation, based on the state that they're operating in. We have situations now where there is really no insurance available to drivers through Uber. $50,000 is becoming more common. And I can tell you from experience that that is simply not enough. So if anybody out there is listening who may vote on this measure, vote against. It is crazy to think that $50,000 is enough to protect people in these hazardous situations where injuries are common vehicles are one of the most prominent ways that people get injured in our society. Uber's putting thousands of vehicles on the road in each one of our communities, and they need to be properly insured. So do not let this happen. Do not let Uber step in and take away the resources that you're entitled to. If you're the one who's involved in a crash, you're going to be seeking this insurance money. And if there's only $50,000 there, you're going to be very, very disappointed when the medical bills start coming back to you to pay because there's not enough auto insurance provided by Uber.
Yeah, I mean it's something that we talk to drivers about every single day. Where they don't realize how these medical bills really can add up. And if you've been through it, you certainly know. But if you haven't, and you think you're taken care of, and Uber throws you $10,000, and you find out your first round of treatment you're already at 20, not even including what's wrong with the car. I mean, exactly. It's crazy that this is really being seriously considered, and it's even crazier that look, a councilwoman, Carmen De La Rosa, is on board with it now. My assumption here is, it says clear that she has a lot of for hire drivers in her area, and I imagine maybe they're pressuring her, or she feels this is for the betterment of them. I'm not sure, but it's definitely getting traction. And it doesn't say how much Uber is putting into this coalition, but if they're running ads on TV and on streaming services, they clearly aren't joking around with this.
They see an opportunity to save a lot of money. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, again, I'm sure we're going to keep covering this, but as Bryant said, vote no on this. This is your money. You're going to need this when something happens. And for our final story here, PA is proposing a new law to help with rider safety. This is from Penn Live, and they reported to make the process of getting in the right car more manageable and safer. State Rep Ann Flood has proposed Sammy's Law, which would require Uber and Lyft to provide a barcode or other machine-readable code on the outside of a vehicle to help minimize the risk of patrons getting in the wrong car. The safety of the rideshare apps has been under criticism after the death of 21-year-old Samantha Josephson in South Carolina in 2019. She had ordered an Uber but got into the wrong car, which she mistook for her ride. The fake driver used child locks on the door to prevent her from leaving, ultimately kidnapping and killing her. So this is interesting. I think it's a great thing they're doing this. It's actually interesting that it's taking this long. I mean, we talked about this back in 2019. That's 6 years ago. So it obviously does say, and we know other states are deploying this, but I'm surprised that it's they're looking into this now. Again, it's been 6 years.
Yeah, it has been a long time. I remember Sammy's story, obviously tragic. We did a lot of interviews on that because rider safety, is obviously something that we specialize in, something that's very important to us. And when that happened, we advocated for stronger features to protect riders and drivers alike. We want safe operation of the vehicle. We want safe riders paired with safe drivers. Zero incidents is the ultimate goal. So while, yes, it's been 6 years, I am happy to see that people are still thinking about the issue. If it's taken some time to put these measures in place, well, that's unfortunate. But on the other side of the coin, at least it's still something that people are talking about, something that people are taking seriously. And anything that we can do to add just little checks, little systems in place to make sure that riders are finding the right vehicle, making sure that drivers and riders are paired with the people that they've actually been matched with through the app, ensuring that people are not falling prey to predators. And again, this is both drivers and riders. We want to make sure that these systems are in place to protect everyone. And if states can step in and add these little features, they actually make a huge difference. So I'm glad to see that it's happening, and hopefully more states adopt it, and fewer people are harmed as a result.
Yeah, totally agree. And I can't criticize PA too much. I'm born and raised. Shout out to PA. I'm from PA, actually from a very small town called Wilmsdorf, Pennsylvania. So I didn't even know if you knew that, Bryant. In Amish country. So
I knew the PA connection. I didn't know how small the town was.
It is a very small town. I guarantee anyone watching right now does not know where that's at. Look it up. You'll be surprised. But I grew up outside that. So shout out to PA. So happy you guys are doing that. like you said, small progress, no matter how long it takes, is good progress. So I'm happy that that is happening. So that is the stories for this week. Brian, I'll let you have the final say, and then we'll head off into the weekend.
Yeah, always want to remind everybody that Legal Rideshare is available for free consultations. We are happy to talk with you after an accident, after an injury, anything related to rideshare work. So if you find yourself injured in the car or because of an Uber or Lyft accident, reach out to us. LegalRideshare.com is the best way to find our contact information. We'll help you recover everything from medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, any other damage that you sustain. Consultations are always free, and time is of the essence. These cases do not get better with time, so please do not hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And as I like to say, that is the end of this week in Rideshare. See you next week.